let's begin it though with Lisa Frankenstein, a movie that comes from director Zelda Williams. Do you know who Zelda Williams is?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to mistake that name, given the late Robin Williams' love for the Zelda video games. I did not realize that Zelda had aspirations for big screen film directing, but I'm kind of happy to see her here.
I think one of the more interesting things was kind of seeing the amalgamation of different probably influences that she had being under her father. So I kind of I read, you don't get named Zelda Williams and not be of somebody, but she was talking about like being 34 and making it into the business, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That said, though, when you're the child of like someone as massive as Robin Williams, I don't think like you making it at 34 is as interesting as a regular person who never had the ability to do so.
Right.
I thought it was an interesting mix of things, and that's probably coming a lot from Diablo Cody's script. I also rewatched a movie that they said it was going to be connected to this movie, Jennifer's Body again, leading up to this. I don't fully see it. Maybe I was sleeping during the connection bit, but I guess it's just in the same zany world. I don't think they really need to be connected the same way that Argyle didn't need to be connected that last week. I didn't love it. I think something like Your Monster that we discussed out of Sundance is a little bit more interesting than this, but this has become the year of the monster that you have in your bedroom that you're hiding. And this is a decent version of that.
Yeah, I was maybe a little bit less into it than you were. I think there are moments in the script where you see that cleverness that Diablo Cody's known for. There's some bits that are pretty funny. There's a few lines that are worthwhile. But for me, where the movie kind of lost it is the balancing of tones, because it's got this sort of sweet high school love story thing going on. And then it's also like a pretty grim, cynical comedy about like gross undead things. And I just
is your problem that it jumps? Or is your problem that it doesn't balance transitioning between them? Because I feel like we've had movies we like that do that.
Right. I'm not opposed to it in principle, but I just kind of feel like it's trying to have it both ways and doesn't do either particularly well or in a way that I jived with. It just sort of felt like uncomfortable in a way that feels very directed toward an audience that's not me. And I'm trying to sort of divide my own personal reaction to it to the idea that I do think there's like an audience for this. And I think, for an angsty teenager, there's going to be a lot to really like appreciate about its sort of subversive take on like, school and relationships at that age. But I don't know. I just did not find a whole lot to enjoy about it particularly. Like, I didn't think there was a lot that was very funny or a lot that I connected to dramatically. I know a lot of people really like Catherine Newton, and she's like pretty good in this, but not, it's certainly not the role that I will think of when I think of her. I don't know. It just didn't quite all connect to me.
What's the role you think of when you think of Catherine Newton?
I mean, probably.
Quantumania.
I don't know. The thing is, I wanted to say Freaky, but it is Quantumania now.
I'll give you Big Little Lies because technically she's in that show.
Yeah.
This is you have Warm Bodies out there.
Yeah. Which it definitely feels like in the mode of.
You have Bride of Frankenstein. You have a lot of incarnations of this movie that's already out there and is coming out. Like we mentioned, there are a bunch of movies that have played the festival circuits, especially the horror circuits, that are going to be playing with this idea of the monster that you have and really it being a form of you, being able to come out of yourself. The flip here is that the Frankenstein monster is an old dude. So you have Cole Sprouse playing pretty much a non-speaking role. Even in these other movies that we're talking, there is a lot of back and forth. He is a mime. For 75% of this movie, I want to say, he doesn't really speak, and I thought that was an interesting approach to it. It's just a lot of makeup that's on him. As you said, they jumped through a bunch of different genres. She is also a part of a blended family, so she has a sister who, I don't know how you felt about her. She was like the very perky one, was trying to kind of add a complete opposite energy to Catherine,
she had good comedic awkward. Timing. Yeah,
she had good comedic timing, and I'm curious to see what she does in the future. Totally. Here, like you said, Cole Sprouse and Catherine Newton, when they do interviews, are the most awkward people. For the people who wake up in the morning and get soothed by those awkward interviews, this is your movie. The intro is animated. The colors pop. The production design is insane. Like the quotes that may not have worked for us, for somebody, it's going to be that quotable that they're going to have for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it definitely feels very like in the spirit of Tim Burton, both visually and in terms of the substance of its story. But it definitely doesn't quite get to those levels at the same point.
Agreed. Carla Gugino, though?
I mean, she can do no wrong.
She can yell at me all day.
It's funny, between her and Laura Linney, who's in a movie we're going to talk about later, like a big week for like great actresses playing mothers that you would not want to have.
Yell? Yeah. That is true. Damn. Okay. So that is one connection that we have right there for Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah.
We'll compare the two in terms of how they are for coming of age, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you were giving some comparisons to things that are maybe a little bit more spiritually similar to this one.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Poor Things is still in theaters, and that is, like, the superior to this kind of thing in every way. Like, obviously, very, very different type of movie.
That's when you deconstruct the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and come up with a brioche marmalade thing right there. Yeah, that's superior, for sure.
Yeah.
But for, like, the regular mainstream crowd, I can see why there's going to be, the young adults who like this one. I am on the side that I think Your Monster will be more for the horror fans, because would you call this a horror? It's that horror adjacent.
Yeah. It's more of a
you were
comedy.
Saying Tim Burton. Because Tim Burton is like visiting horror.
Exactly. It's more of like a quirky comedy with horror elements than it is a actual horror movie. Like I can't think of a scary moment. Even the things that would be considered scary, like kills or gore or violence, are all played for laughs.
Exactly. It's more disgusting than it is out of fear.
Yes.
All right, well, Lisa Frankenstein, I personally would give it a rent it. I don't think you need to leave to the theater unless you're really excited for it. I think you can catch it in the comfort of your own home. Zach, I don't think is as high.
I went 2 stars on my Letterboxd review. It's not for me.
All right. So watch the trailer if it interests you. I'm sure it's going to be on VOD in like a couple of weeks, but let us know if you're a bigger fan of this movie or a bigger fan of the, I guess, spiritually connected one, which is Jennifer's Body. Look, have you rewatched Jennifer's Body?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, if you do, we'll have a conversation.
We'll bring Amanda on for that one.
That would be a good talk. I know she just rewatched it as well. But going from Lisa Frankenstein to a movie that I know was on a lot of people's double bills, Lisa Frankenstein, and then obviously Perfect Days.